Good morning YouTube and welcome back to another video. I got back from Vietnam almost a week ago and I think that I still have potentially one more video of Vietnam to upload, but I don't want to go through all of it yet and I want to save the rest of the Vietnam vlog for a special one that's like a roundup. And I also want to do a bit of a video about planning a trip to Vietnam, where to go, what to do, because loads of people seem really interested in a similar trip. But I wanted my first video back in London to be a bit of a New Year intentions video, and I guess this is kind of for myself as much as for you guys, really to just hold me accountable for the feelings and for the headspace that I'm in at the moment, and hope that I can continue that through this year. I feel like I was quite transparent about mental health at the end of last year, but I kind of didn't realise how burnt out I was by the Christmas time. It was a crazy year, and I think post getting married I threw myself into work just to say to myself, this next 3 months of the year you're just gonna go all in. And I think that that mentality is good. I think it's good to be like, let's just do this. But I think I can be quite a people pleaser. I can be quite hard on myself. I can get myself into situations where I'm just saying yes to everything without really prioritizing my mental health or acknowledging that you can't do everything. And I think by the time I got home for Christmas and then subsequently got to Vietnam, I just felt really burnt out. And now I feel like I'm filming this on Friday, and so I've had this whole week at work and I just can feel the headspace that I'm in is just completely different to how I ended last year, and that's really exciting for me. So I think I wanted to make this video and again, I'm not an advocate of like new year, new you, going to work out, going to quit this, going to quit that, being really hard on yourself. But I think it is really nice opportunity to have a moment of reflection on the last year, on what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. You maybe went through some stuff that taught you things, you maybe went through some good stuff, bad stuff, and I think we always grow from the experiences that we've been in, and I like to think that I've grown a lot over the last year. And yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm really excited to continue to share this journey with you. I absolutely have YouTube at the top of my social media priorities list for this year, and I'm really excited to just continue to use this platform to hopefully help you. And I always want to hopefully be a place of inspiration and not a place for comparison or anxiety or anyone thinking I wish my life was like that. It's not as good as that, because I definitely struggle and I have my ups and downs, and yeah, I just want to be as authentic as possible on here. So let me know what videos you'd like to see, let me know what topics you'd like to hear about, whether it's interest in like health and wellness, you want to see more of the food, you want to see more routines. I'd love to know kind of what sort of thing you would like to see. So I think I started the year in Vietnam, and that was incredible, and it gave me so much time just to reflect and do this kind of what I want this year to be. And I literally journaled so much while we were there. I always do my 3 morning pages, and I was often doing 6 pages of writing a day. I also wrote a lot of lists. I wrote 1 page. I know that everyone on social media was doing their ins and outs list. I did do that. I do want to keep it private, but I did do that. I wrote it in my journal. I also wrote good things that happened last year and bad things that happened last year, because I just wanted to reflect on that, and also some of the anxiety that had built up towards the end of the year. I kind of wanted to justify that to myself and say like, no wonder you felt that way, that had happened just then, or like, you know, just things like that. Sorry to spit. Kind of makes you feel, I don't know, like I think the most important thing in all this is just like being kind to ourselves and finding ways to know ourselves a bit better and how to cope with situations that come up. Anyway, I did write 10 things that I want to uphold, take up, not necessarily take up, but do more of, hold myself accountable for. And my kind of main energy that I want to put into this year is being easier on myself, giving myself time, giving myself space, not saying yes to everything, having my own time, prioritizing time with Hugo, with family, friends, not just work. So I guess my kind of general mentality this year is slowing down, and that's not just physically, but that's in my head. That's allowing myself to be bored, allowing myself to do things that aren't necessarily productive but are enjoyable. I'm just a go 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 person, which is good, but it's also come to beat me up. So I'm just gonna read through these, and I've written a few points and I really hope they help. I'd love to chat about, if anyone has any questions or wants to chat to me, message me privately or comment, and hopefully we can carry on this conversation. And then, yeah. So the first one, and this is probably my most focused one, is controlled use of my phone / social media. And this is something that kind of started over Christmas. I'm just gonna have a sip of my matcha. It's kind of cold, but it's good. This is something that kind of happened over Christmas. I took an entire week off social media, and sort of as a result, kind of my phone in general, because I was with Hugo and my family, and all my friends were with their families or their friends, and I wasn't really using WhatsApp, obviously wasn't using emails, and I intentionally took a week off social media. My sisters and I had actually planned to do this social media break before we got home for Christmas. So I texted one of my sisters and said, I just really need a break from social media. Do you want to do this with me? And then we got my other two sisters to join. And I think if you do want to take a break from social media, having accountability partners is really good, because then if you see the other scrolling, you're like, what are you doing? But this is also, yeah, this has been a really big one for me, because also in Vietnam I took a lot of time away from my phone, and I was still posting, I was posting stories, I was posting on my grid, but I was very controlled and aware of the time that I spent mindlessly scrolling. And I think this is something that I really want to get better at. I think that, and I'm as guilty of it as the next person, I'm probably more guilty of it because I'm good at justifying it as work, but I have spent a lot of last year not allowing myself to get into a creative headspace and to get deep into my work, because I pick up my phone and I scroll. And I don't know if anyone else gets this, and it's probably vulnerable to say, but I feel like my social media addiction or my phone addiction had got out of control last year. There were moments where I'm going to the loo and I pick up my phone and I just stand in the middle of the room and I'm just scrolling, or I'm in the middle of doing the washing up and I just grab my phone and I just stand there scrolling. It's the middle of the activities thing for me that I've really struggled with, and I see that I'm not allowing my brain to get deep or to get creative, and then I get frustrated with myself. I'm trying to create new recipes or write a recipe or think of a menu for a supper club, and I can't get my brain into that next gear of creativity. And it's something I've been talking about with my therapist, is yes, I work in social media, but it doesn't mean that my relationship with it needs to be really negative. And yeah, I think that this has been my main one of this year, and I think our phones are so addictive, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that struggles with this, but I think admitting that it doesn't need to be that way, and it is problematic. As soon as you're in the middle of a thought process, you immediately go on social media, you see someone's work and you're like, oh my god, they're better than me, oh my god, I'm rubbish, and you just spiral yourself multiple times a day. I would be ashamed, embarrassed to look at a record of how many times I open the Instagram app in one day. And this takes time. I will have good days, and then I'll have a day where I'll just scroll and I'll feel like I'm in a negative headspace, but I'm really working on ways to work on my addiction, and it is an addiction, and I think saying that is probably quite scary, but it is an addiction. I crave the dopamine that Instagram gives me, and also that thing of, I don't know if others have this, but I'm constantly on WhatsApp because I feel guilty when I don't reply to WhatsApps, but I constantly have a stream of unread WhatsApps that I need to reply to, and then it overwhelms me, and then I feel like a bad friend or sister. So that's the first thing I'm tackling this year. Ways that I'm tackling it. Number one, and I've done this for a while, but I'm really getting stricter with this. No phone in the evening or the morning. Absolutely not. I'll turn my phone off when I finish work, and I will turn it back on 9 in the morning, maybe 10, maybe 11. And this means no social media, no WhatsApp. My phone's on airplane mode. If there's an emergency, I live with Hugo, I live with my brother, and someone would be able to get hold of me, but that's just an outright rule for me, and I think that does really help. I think the need for constant replying, I think I do say to my family and friends, I'm not going to reply immediately, it doesn't mean I don't love you, and knowing that I don't need to be in this constant stream of communication. And The other thing that I really picked up when I was in Vietnam was allowing myself to be bored in liminal moments, which I never do. I'm always just, okay, well, I'm waiting for the tube, pick up my phone. I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, pick up my phone. All these small moments are actually the moments where we have really good thought processes, and regardless of whether the thought process is to do with work or you're processing something that happened in your day, those thought processes are really important. And one thing I really was aware of in Vietnam is we were traveling around a lot, so there were lots of moments of waiting, and in those moments I would challenge myself, don't pick up your phone. And when you kick the habit, I'm not saying I'm perfect, when you kick the habit or start to kick the habit, you're then aware of the times that you are picking up your phone more than the ones that you're not. Even there are times where I go to the loo and I'd go and I'd have a break from work to go to the loo, but I'd stand up from my desk, pick up my phone, walk to the loo on my phone, sit on the loo, go on my Instagram, wash my hands, pick up my phone, go back to my desk. And when did I allow myself the opportunity to think about the recipe that I was writing? It's just those moments. So those moments for me are really what I am working on. And I think then the last thing on social media is when I'm going on it consciously. So I'll make myself a cup of tea. I'll do the cup of tea making process without my phone. And then I will sit down on the chair and I'll be like, I'm gonna sit and scroll for 5 minutes and that's it. Then I put down my phone and I go back up to my desk and I leave my phone downstairs. So it's this word that's so overused, but it's the word mindful. So yeah, I think that the phone one is a really big one for me, and if you're struggling with the same thing, you are not alone. The next thing is sorting out my period, which I have talked about on here, but I've struggled with for so long, and I've had my hormones tested and nothing's come back, so I'm continuing to work on that. I think there is a massive thing with women that we struggle with our period, and number one, we feel alone, but also number two, we think it's normal to have painful, heavy periods, feel low, feel depressed for a few days every month, and actually it's not normal. And there are two things, it's not normal, but it's also normal. It's really common, but you shouldn't just accept that it's part of your life, and I'm feeling that so much at the moment. So I am gonna seek more medical advice and medical help. And third one is therapy. I did speak about starting therapy at the end of last year. A disclaimer is that I know that this is a massively privileged thing to be able to afford. I have put this money aside and I'm willing to put the money into this for my life every week. This has made an absolutely massive difference. The therapist that I see specializes in cognitive behavioral therapy, so working on rewiring a lot of the processes that happen in my brain that cause anxiety or my reactions to certain things, and that's really helped me sort of see myself from a bird's eye point of view. And when I'm having a spiral or an anxious day or an anxious week, I'm much more able to kind of remove myself and understand why that's happening or what behaviors I can then do to stop it happening. So therapy is a massive one for me. And then moving on from that, journaling. I was always I knew that everyone talked about journaling, and I was like, good for you, good for you in your journaling, because I would always, I don't know, I'd often buy a notebook and then I'd write 2 pages of a journal and then I'd forget about it, or I wouldn't know what to write. But The Artist's Way, which is a very famous self-help book, and she suggests writing 3 pages of just freehand writing every single morning, and that was what completely triggered my obsession with journaling. And yeah, in Vietnam I was often writing 6 pages a day. I wouldn't always do it first thing in the morning because you're on holiday and you're on a different time zone, but I would always get it done. And when I'm here in London, I do it first thing in the morning, either in bed, literally as soon as I wake up, or I will get up, make a cup of tea and do it then. I know that everyone has their different kind of ways that they do journal. A lot of people like prompts. A lot of people like to buy special journals that have the prompts or have what you want to talk about that day. I literally just have this moleskin, I never know how to say that, notebook, and I like writing in a felt tip pen. But yeah, I crave doing this now. Yesterday afternoon I was feeling quite like high on energy and agitated, and I felt like I had loads going on, and my philosophy this year is just like calmness. And so I literally was like, okay, I need to just sit down and write in my journal, and I wrote a page in there, and then I immediately just felt better. And I think taking it on the tube and just noting things down, what's in my head, again, I'm trying to be bored on the tube, I'm trying to not just fill all of my seconds of the day with phone or productivity. And yeah, I think if you haven't tried journaling, or if you struggled with journaling, or you want to try it, try listening to The Artist's Way, or at least just start with freehand writing. It doesn't have to be deep. It can literally be what you did that day. It can be deep. It can be bitching about someone who pissed you off. It can be talking about someone who lit you up that day. It can be about anything, and that's a nice thing about it. Often I'll just sit down to write and I'll have no idea what I'm gonna write about, and it will just come out as word vomit. So I absolutely love that. I genuinely could say it's probably been life-changing for me in the last few months. So yeah, if you want to give it a try. I was very apprehensive about it, but literally even last summer I kept trying, and yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it now. If I have my journal without me, I'm feeling panicked. The next one is positive self-talk, which again is probably so overused, but I'm so sick of beating myself up, and I think so many of us are. And I always think of this analogy: if you heard one best friend talking about another best friend like the way you talk to yourself, you would be shocked. But we do it to ourselves all day, every day. It can be about your physical appearance, it can be about how you've behaved. Often it will be in social situations. I'll walk away from the social situation, I'll be like, that person must have hated me because I said this. It's like, number one, no, and number two, no. And I think it's just so toxic, and I think you can really be in a negative pattern of it without really acknowledging how damaging it is. And I think that, again, there's this thing that's often spoke about, which is you are what you say you are to yourself, and if you have a positive mindset, positive things happen to you. I do genuinely believe that, and I think it's so, I don't know, just toxic talking to ourselves constantly negatively. And yes, again, I appreciate this is easier said than done, and it takes a lot of practice, but I think the way I've done it is, and again, therapy has probably helped me with this, but I think question myself. So initially I'll, you know, look at myself in the mirror and be like, you look so ugly and tired, and then I'll be like, no you don't, and also, yeah, you look tired because you worked until 1 AM yesterday, or you did a supper club. Or initially, if I have that thought process of, oh god, I think I said that thing that might have pissed off that girl, maybe she hates me, then I question myself and I'm like, oh my god, she's not even thinking about me. She's thinking about what's going on in her own life. She really doesn't care. And I think this can often happen when you're in new social situations, which I'm a lot of the time. I go to a lot of press events and meet new people, and then I come away and I'm like, did I make a good impression? And actually, if you go in and be yourself, what more can you do? And I say this lightly from a position of being in a good mental health space currently, and hopefully I'll be able to look back at this video and tell myself these lessons. But I think it's so spiraling to just go around talking negatively to yourself. I think the physical one is very, very common as well, looking at yourself thinking, I'm ugly, I hate my outfit, and actually, it's just also untrue to you, to me, to everyone. Physical beauty is completely diverse, and also looking in the mirror and being able to not say, yeah, you're not gonna go around and be like, I'm beautiful, I'm stunning, but yeah, you can say that to yourself sometimes, and not self-sabotaging by being like, I'm ugly, or my legs look horrible in that. And yeah, I think that this one takes a lot of work, and a lifetime of work maybe, but I think once you can start to just even question the thought processes, then you're getting yourself into a better relationship with yourself. So that's an important one for me. And then number 6 is continue to prioritize routines. So when I moved to London in October, I was really in a routine for the first time in a long time, and that just affected me so positively, especially the morning routine. I think evenings are harder because I'm often out, I'm often socializing, and you don't want to be too hard on yourself by not enjoying your present moment, your time off work, time to see your friends, see your family, with worrying about getting into bed on time, or, you know, all of that stuff. Granted that that's important, but I think you don't want to be too rigid about evening, well, I don't want to be too rigid about evening plans, so I stop myself from being able to enjoy my life outside of work. But the morning routine is really where I thrive. I love getting up early. I actually got a Lumi alarm clock from my sister for Christmas, and that wakes you up with light and bird sounds, and it has changed my cortisol levels in the morning. I used to have one and it broke, and I've been waking up by my iPad, and just having an alarm clock makes the biggest difference. So even if it's not one of the fancy expensive ones, I think you can get good alarm clocks from Amazon that do the job. So continue to prioritize the morning routines, and if you failed on them, don't beat yourself up. If you go to bed later the evening before, that's fine. Set your alarm for an hour later. But I really prioritize my mental health routines in the morning. I actually usually, if I do exercise, it's usually in the evening. So I will get up, I will journal for 20 minutes. I will either do a bit of stretching, a little bit of breath work, or I'll go straight on my dog walk, and then I'll get back from my dog walk. I will still not turn on my phone. I will maybe do a cold plunge if I'm feeling brave, and then I'll have breakfast, and then I get to work. And that time in the morning is just invaluable to me. So I really want to continue to set myself up for success, mental health success and work success in the day by doing that. Number 7 is not being in a rush. I spoke about this briefly in a video last year, I think, but I think my being in a rush is as a result of always over committing. So I'm always saying yes to everything and then rushing around and not having time to do it all. And also I think the actually being in a rush is also a result of phone addiction, because I'll have loads to do, but I will then be going on my phone every break that I have, when I could be getting myself ready to go or focusing on something that's on my to-do list. I'm continuously distracting myself with just picking up my phone. So, and I hate being late. I hate it. It just brings me an obscene amount of anxiety. So being in a rush and being late stress me out, but I'm always doing it. So I think just, yeah, trying not to fit too much into the day, not over committing, and also not using my phone in those interim moments, all really going to help with that. Number 8 is breath work. And again, this is a classic wellness, mental health thing, but it really does help so much. I read the book Breathe, and apologies, I can't remember the author, but I will link it. I read that in Vietnam, and it's just a phenomenal book. It's one of the best self-help books I've read. It's not really self-help, it's very science-based, but yeah, it just makes you realize how breathing can affect you so positively. And yeah, I want to get better at prioritizing moments for actual breathwork classes, and not just doing it as part of a yoga class. So that is one. That's kind of my version of meditating. I'm just not a meditator. So breathwork, you can actually focus on a teacher in the class. And then my last 2, number 9 is more culture. And again, this is something I lacked last year from just being in a rush, from overworking, is going to galleries, going to see new films, going and doing things for the fun of it and that fill you up so much. And I think that this is such a small one, and actually is mentioned in The Artist's Way, of going on dates by yourself. That's something I'd really like to do, is going to an exhibition by myself. Again, not having my phone on or not going on it. And I think I lacked so much time last year that was self-inflicted, to be like, I'm just gonna go to cinema, or yeah, I'm gonna go to a gallery, I'm gonna listen to more podcasts, more books. I love reading. So that's one. And again, it feels quite achievable. I'm not saying must go to a gallery every single week, must go to a new film at the cinema, but it could even be watching a new film with Hugo at home. It doesn't have to be going to the cinema, but I think just like more of that, and it really invigorates and inspires you, and it's just something nice out of work that gives you a complete break. I think my food is my work, and it's quite hard to escape from, and being on social media as well, there's not really like an off and on. And yeah, so that's number 9. And then number 10 is sleep more. I just notice so much difference when I prioritize my sleep. I am not a good sleeper by nature, but I have become better in the last few years. But I think, yeah, it's that thing of, if I have to sleep an hour later in the morning, let myself sleep an hour later in the morning. If I'm tired at night, go to bed earlier. And I think sleeping honestly affects everything. And I think that's just a really simple one, basically, is how can you how can I improve my sleep culture or sleep atmosphere environment? So dimming the lights, having nice smells, reading my book, getting into bed earlier, not having a messy room, all these things that just make sleep feel like a safe space rather than something stressful. So yeah, that's my 10, and I hope you found that useful. I don't know, I just feel like it's nice to have these kind of motivating things. If you hear someone else's, it can maybe make you think about that. And I think one thing that I've also been really thinking about is having regular check-ins. I've seen a lot of stuff on social media in the past couple of weeks about the 12-week year, and I think that's something really nice, because I think as the year progresses and you get more and more busy and there's more and more going on, you just become like a roly-poly of like stress and anxiety and busyness. And actually the new year is always this time where we slow down at Christmas and then we have this reset. But I think there's something quite nice about even monthly or weekly having like a check-in and being like, how did I feel? Holding yourself accountable for these habits that you want to put in and you want to put out. And you know, today, yeah, I scrolled more than I wish I had, so I don't need to do that again tomorrow. It doesn't need to now just be me taking a step back and then readdressing things. I got this planner calendar from Papier, and actually I personalized it, but really small. I clearly was doing it without really focusing, but I'm a iCal person last year, but I used to be a can you see that? I used to be a diary person, and I want to get back into having a diary. And this one's really nice because at the beginning of the month it has a page that says monthly goals, to do, top priorities and new habits. And that's something I really want to utilize, because it's this thing of holding myself accountable every month and giving myself a chance to actually reflect and not just turboing into the next month. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I have some really fun plans for this year to get you guys involved. I really want to host a meetup at some point in the next few weeks. I obviously want to do supper clubs, but I want to kind of find a way to focus on more community-based stuff that's accessible for people in London, that's not just supper club based, and that's also more affordable, and just ways that we can chat to each other and help each other and meet new people. I think there's so many people that follow me that could make great friends with each other, because there's a lot of like-minded people. And yeah, I just want to find ways to continue this. And Luna's at the door, can you see? Can you come in? Come on, Luna, you didn't push the door. Like, that was good timing. Yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this. I absolutely love YouTube, as I've said, and I can't wait to make more videos for you this year, and I will see you next week.